Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Crushing Land. And this week, what we're going to talk about is something that's on a lot of people's minds for a few different reasons. One is because of everything that they're hearing right now. Another thing is just because of the time of year, and that is what to expect going into 2024. Here we are at the end of 2023, only a few days left, and we're coming into 2024. And there's a lot of gloom and doom predicted about real estate for 2024. Should you buy that? Is it hype? Is it true? Where are we heading? Well, here's a perspective that you need to take on something. And that is, why is the person that's giving you the information telling you the information? And perhaps if you're watching this or listening to this, you are watching other people that are also educators out there that are talking about land investing. Perhaps they're talking about multifamily investing. Perhaps they're talking about house investing. Perhaps they're talking about mobile home investing. Perhaps they're talking about office space. But all of these different avenues. And I'm not saying the same person. I'm saying all these different people are talking about whatever avenue that they specialize in. And perhaps what you've noticed is that as we're coming here at the end of this year and we're going into the next, they are all talking about how it's doom and gloom for real estate, except whatever it is that they specialize in and that you need to be taught about. The bottom line is when it comes to real estate, it's cyclical. It's always been cyclical. Nothing has changed in the history of real estate with that. There's ups and there's downs. And sometimes when people think about ups and downs, they kind of think of the stock market, which is a lot more of this. Whereas with real estate, it's a much slower progress. And yes, sometimes there's a big peak and then sometimes there's a big dip, but it's over history where it just keeps going up. If you looked at it from a broad, if you went back 100 years and you looked at real estate, you would see a line like this. If you look at it for the last 50 years, you would see it a little bumpy. If you look at it for the last 10, that's when you start seeing one of those things. So the thing with it is real estate's always been that way and will always be that way. It's a long-term game when it comes to investment. So there are going to be people in 2024 that invest in land. There's going to be people in 2024 that invest in multifamily. There's going to be people in 2024 that invest in houses. There's going to be people in 2024 that invest in mobile homes. There's going to be people in 2024 that invest in office space, and on and on and on and on it goes. Okay. There's all different people that specialize in all these different things. Now, does that mean that all of these areas are going to be exactly the same as far as what they do, how good they perform, all of those things? The answer is no. Everything performs at different levels based on what's needed in it, what's going on in the economy. All different things affect what people decide to do. So, for example, multifamily. People have said, well, multifamily has been booming and it's going to take a hit. And that is partially true, but there are other things that could affect that. For example, if there's a collapse in the single family world, like there was not that long ago, and by not that long ago, I mean like 15 years. But if there's a very large collapse like that, then guess what? There's going to be more people rushing into multifamily, and there's going to be a bigger pickup for it because that's the way it works. Office space. Is office space going to perform the way it did? Well, people said that COVID killed offices, right? It brought it way down. But the thing is that people are starting to realize with office spaces and offices in general is that, yes, it's cheaper to keep people at home, but productivity is down. That's been proven. So people are already starting to do these things where they want people in a certain amount of time for certain tasks and things like that. So, well, office space may need to be redistributed, meaning you don't need as much space as you used to. There's still going to be the need for that type of thing. Real estate in general, we're not going to keep going down the list of all of these different things, but real estate in general has always been about buying, right? People need to buy real estate right. That is why everybody that has done it correctly in any arena has made money, and those who don't in any arena lose money. when we deal with vacant land, people say all the time, well, it's less risky. And that's true. But a lot of that is because of the way that we teach you to do it. There's tons of people that we have personally bought properties from over the years that have taken huge losses selling them to us. Why? Because they did not invest in land correctly. And so when you don't invest in land correctly, that's where you're taking the risk. And the same is true in any form of real estate out there. So if people are out there like doom and gloom about every form of real estate except for one, no, it's cyclical, right? It happens. There's ups and downs, different spots, things like that. And it's always about the buying. And people say, and I'll attest to this 100% because I agree with it. I've lived it. There's more money to be made in the down market than there is in the up. Right. There's a lot of people out there with land in particular right now that have basically been teaching, getting these deals and finding these things and getting and small profits. And they're buying properties at $15,000 and selling them at 20 or 22, and they're cashing out at quickly $5,000-$7,000. That worked. And you could make some decent money doing that because you could do a lot of deals, making $5,000-$7,000. You don't have to do a ton of them, right? And all of a sudden you did 10 deals and you made $50,000-$70,000. You did 20 deals and you broke $100,000 doing that. Problem is, those days are basically over. And if you go buy a property right now for $15,000 that's worth 20 and try to sell it for 20, you're going to be sitting on it. You're probably not going to do it. And as things move, we're already seeing it, longer days on the market. As they continue to shift and move, what's going to happen is that those contracts are just going to get canceled, or people are going to get stuck with them because they got bad education, bad information. And now they got these properties that they can't do anything with, and they got to take a loss for if they own them. And that's true in every aspect of real estate. I'm talking about land because we do that. But they're the guys out there that deal with massive things and have multiple, that are the billionaires of the world when it comes to real estate. People like Donald Trump, like him or not, but somebody like that, or somebody like Grant Cardone, again, like him or not. These are people that have made money buying smartly. It's all about buying smartly. The economy around us doesn't change that, right? We buy smart all the time. How we sell changes, right? So what we do with the property after the fact, that is what changes based on the economy and the circumstances. But we still always buy smart. Now, when it comes to land, yes, there's less risk. Why is there less risk? Well, again, smaller dollar amounts for one, which is huge. And then obviously the way it's structured and what we do, in that you don't necessarily need to own it, and there's other things that you can do. Now, that's true in other forms of real estate as well. So the risk is still mitigated, and even more so because of the price point with what we do. And obviously there's no structures and nothing like that you need to worry about, and what could be wrong with them and all of that. But it doesn't remove risk if you do it wrong. And that's true in anything. And that's why we try to educate people. We try to tell you it's important to work with somebody that's been doing this for a while, has seen market cycles, understands how they work, understands the importance of buying right. But then at the same time, working with somebody that's still doing it right now. Because if you lived through the market cycle in 2008 and you're, oh man, but then you haven't done anything for the last 10 years, well, then you didn't live through this last market. You're not living through this current change that we're in. So those are all big parts of this that you need to be thinking about and need to be working out. So is it doom and gloom in 2024? It really depends on how you look at it, right? If you're looking at it from the perspective of, well, I've run a business for the last COVID, let's call it the COVID year, since 2020 to now. I've run this business, and basically I was buying properties for $15,000 to $20,000, and that's my business model. And that's all I've done. That's all I know. And that's how I want to keep doing it. Then yes, it could be gloom and doom for you because you learned wrong. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. You learned wrong if that's the case. But if you're really about investing, if you're really about buying right, if you're really worried about, if you're really involved with selling things correctly, if you're doing all of those things, then no, it's not doom and gloom. It's completely the opposite. It's huge potential for 2024. And honestly, every year. And that's true regardless of where you are and what business, what real estate investing technique you want to use. Okay. So again, having the right perspective on it. And an illustration that I use with this that I tell people all the time, it's like looking at the up a mountain from the base of it. You may be staring up this mountain and it's this big. I use a Mount Kilimanjaro, for example. For those of you who are familiar with it, right? It's out in the Serengeti. It's this big giant mountain. It's snow capped. It seems like it's just floating there. The plains below with all these animals, giraffes and elephants and things like that. Now, you could stand at the bottom of that thing and you could be looking up at it and be like, this thing is impossible to get over, right? There's no way I can possibly get up it. But then what do you notice? Well, as you're looking, you see there's a trail. And the trail doesn't go straight up the mountain, right? The trail meanders around and it goes this way and it goes that way. And in really steep areas, there's switchbacks where that trail goes way out and then it comes back. And what happens? Well, if you're hiking, you are now standing on top of a cliff that maybe just a few minutes or hours earlier you were looking up at and saying, there's no way I can get up that. So were you correct in the way you looked at it? Well, the answer is yes and no, right? Your perspective from your point of view was right. There is no possible way, but you didn't have the right point of view, right? You needed to change your perspective. And that's where this getting the right education, getting the right information, getting the right facts is huge, because now you're gaining the right perspective where it's not just about, let me get around a contract for this and flip it like this really quick. No, it's all about the buying. It's all about doing it right. It's all about going through these different markets. And as people start to die off, which they're going to do because these things aren't working the way they're doing this, it creates more opportunity. And that's why it said when it comes to real estate investing, or any type of investing for that matter, the real money is made in the down markets. So do I think it's doom and gloom? No, because my perspective is different from others. So have the right perspective, get the right education, get the right training, and you can make this year and all the other years that follow your best years ever, because you're doing things the right way.